My name is Alea Fleming. Today on History Live, we'll be talking about the Aztec culture. My first category is class structure. They were divided into 5 main social classes: the ruler and his family, noble classes, which contained government officials, priests, and high-ranking warriors. The third class is commoners, which was the largest class. Fourth class is peasants, neither slaves nor citizens, and the fifth class are slaves. Our next category is marriage. Most men married at 20, and women married at 16. They were allowed to divorce, and the men's family chose. The men's family would go to the woman's family. If the woman's family would refuse first, they would come back the next day, and hopefully they would say yes. The men were allowed to have more than one wife, which is called polygamy. And after marriage, they prayed in a chamber for 4 days. On the 5th day, they would come out and they would celebrate their life ahead of them. In order to meet each other, they would have to meet a matchmaker. A matchmaker is usually an older woman in the tribe, and they basically found things that they had in common and met them back up together, just like Match.com, but in human form. Okay, our next category is family life. Men were higher than women. The fathers were the masters. Women had rights, and women that were married owned land. Some women had jobs, like people that help give birth, and matchmakers also. And the commoners, both men and women, worked to keep the household safe. And women that gave birth, or women that were giving birth, were very honored. Babies were a great honor to the tribe because that just meant more people. Okay, the next category is food. The preparation of tortillas and other foods was a daily task for a woman. They used clay griddles, they stove cooked maize for food, and they ate maize porridge daily. They also made spices out of things that they found everywhere, like jalapenos and chilies and stuff, chili peppers. The next categories is markets. Each city had its own market, and large towns held a market every day. Tlatelolco, which was the largest market, which was located in Tenochtitlan. The markets were very important to the Aztecs' economy. It just gave them money and more things. It's basically like trading. They would give things and get things in return. Many individuals brought their wares to markets, like their items, their money and stuff. Farmers brought extra crops they had grown, while craftspeople brought handmade goods. And the pochetta had a special place in the markets. The pochetta was another name for a high-ranking ruler or somebody in the noble class. They had a special place in the markets since they brought exotic foods from faraway places. They were it's like the black market it was really hard to get to them. Our next category would be religious practices. They practiced sacrifice, and they were polygamists. They believed in more than one god. They believed in the rain god, the sun god, the god of wind, the god of the jaguar, the eagle. They adopted some of their gods from the Mesoamerican groups. Talalak, I think that's how you say it, was the rain god. He or she was a Mesoamerican god. The Aztecs' own chief god was Huitzilopochtli. I really don't know how to pronounce these, but he was the sun god and the god of war. In fact, the Aztecs called themselves the people of the sun. The Aztecs saw the sun as a warrior who fought each night against the forces of darkness. Our next category would be recreation. They loved to play this game called Patoli, and it was a popular game among the Aztecs and other Mesoamerican people. White beans were marked with holes. They were thrown like modern dice to tell players how many spaces they could move on the cross-shaped board. They had a lot of recreations when they were not working or preparing food. They played a ball game called Tetlichi. It was similar to some of the Mayan ball games. Tetlichi was played on a long, narrow court, played like the letter I, shaped like the letter I, and surrounded by high walls. A small ring projected over the court between the rings. The object of the game was to get the rubber ball into a ring. Through the ring on the other man's team, on the other man's side of the court. Players could not touch the ball with their hands, feet, and so they threw themselves on the ground to hit the ball with their elbows, knees, and hips. Must have had a lot of broken bones. Hundreds of spectators gathered to watch the game. It's like soccer, but you can't use your feet or your hands. Tlachtli, the game, had a religious meaning as well. Aztecs believe that the Tlachtli, court represented the world and the ball represented a heavenly body. Because of these religious ties, the Aztecs built their Tlachtli courts near the most important temples, like the Great Temple and Tenochtitlan. We're almost going to conclude. I think that's it. Their achievements. No, we're going to talk about their achievements. The Aztec culture was known around the Mayans and the Incas and around the Mesoamerican period of time. But they weren't very well. Well, they were very well known for having the biggest capital, but some called them barbaric. Some, like, they were like, yeah, they, just because their sacrifices were so brutal, I guess. But some called them barbaric. And their good achievements were they built this big capital, Tenochtitlan, and they were successful and they had a big population. Yeah, that's pretty much it about the Aztec culture. Next on History Alive, we'll be talking about the the impact of exploration on European commerce and economies. Thank you. Goodbye.